Good morning, everybody. I am very happy to be here. And for many of us, when we saw your welcome, we had tears in our eyes. I want to tell you about the history of why we are here, where we came from. As we know, every family has a history. And for all of us, we want to know, what did our mothers do? What was our grandmother? Where are we coming from? Because we don't come without any background. We come with all the background that has been given to us by our family. I will start our background 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago. Janvi Ben told you about Ela Bhatt, whose picture you saw and who we are very sad is not with us now. I joined Ela Bhatt, I was still studying. Many of you were not even born, and many of you were small children, but I was studying and I joined her. And she sent me to work with the women who stitch clothes in their home. Because they had come to Ela Bhatt and they had said that we work so hard, we are earning so little. And she sent me to find out what was the problem. So I did a study and I found that they were working 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day, and they were earning less than half of minimum wage. So we decided, now we will fight for these stitcher women. So we went to the employers and we said that these are workers, you must give them minimum wage. But the employer said, they are not workers, they are only women, and they are doing something in their leisure time. Then we went to the labor department. They said, they are not workers. Anyway, the workers were very strong. And then we thought, why people are saying they are not workers? They are not in factory, they don't have one employer, they are not visible. So we said they are workers, but they are home-based workers. So 40 years ago, these women who everybody said was not worker became worker by getting a name, home-based worker. And that is how the home-based worker name came. So that's the first thing. You know, much later, we found that there were home-based workers all over the world. And if you know your history, earlier there were no factories. But then when the factories came, then unions developed. Union organized the factory workers, and those who were at home, they were also home workers, they were also working. But unions found that it is better that home-based work be shut down. And so they discouraged the home-based workers and said they are not workers. In some countries, you may not believe, in some countries in USA, home-based work is banned, or it was banned, now a little bit allowed, because the factory workers found that their organizing was disturbed by home-based workers. Anyway, that was the history. So the history is that home-based workers were not considered workers, and in many countries, they were banned. But let me finish with my story. So when I joined Ela Bhatt, we call Ela Bhatt, Ben means sister. We called Ela Bhatt. When I joined Ela Bhatt, she had already formed a union, Self-Employed Women's Association, SEWA. When I joined, there were 200 members. Today there are 2.5 million members, of course not all home-based, in the informal economy. So we organized these stitchers, we got better wages for them, we started their cooperative, then we organized the cigarette rollers, beedi rollers they call. So we found that it is possible to organize home-based workers. They want to be organized. But of course, they face many problems. Now, as I told you, there are home-based workers everywhere. At that time, the ILO, International Labour Organization, they wanted to work with informal workers. They came to us. They said, we want to do a project. So we did a project of organizing home-based workers in 3 states. It was successful. We found many home-based workers organized. We got a lawyer. She made a bill, Home-Based Workers Protection Act. No, Home-Based Workers Protection and Development Act. Then ILO said, this is very good, so they took it to Southeast Asia, Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, same project, so same home-based workers organized. But the act was not passed in India. But ILO said to us, why we don't do a convention, an ILO convention. So to form the convention, and I spent my time, lot of time. I had a small child. That time I got married afterwards. Then I had a small child. But I still spent a lot of time going to many countries. I found home-based worker organization in UK, Portugal, Brazil. Brazil, there was an old home-based workers organization. Of course, Southeast Asia, all over. So many were there. So we formed a network. And we formed a network, and we worked with ILO. And in 1996, we got a convention for home-based workers. It is Convention 177. Now you can all clap. One day, if you are interested, we will tell you the story of the difficulty of the convention. And another problem. People ask why convention is not ratified. I can tell you that story also one day. But now you have formed HomeNet International. In 1995 or 1995, we formed HomeNet International that time. But it was not registered. It was HomeNet International. But after the ILO convention, the whole HomeNet International, it broke. And from that, I learned that it is not easy to run an international network. And I want to tell you people, you are the future. But to be the future, you must learn to stay together. You are so different. Somebody may be from Chile. Somebody may be from Thailand. How do you work together when you can't speak together? How do you work together when you have different heart, different thought, different system? It is necessary. Why? Because business is international, but workers remain in their small, small holes. So we must learn to be international, because I have seen that international can break. Do not let your international break. Even if you fight among yourselves, you fight. It's okay. But keep together. It is my strong message to you. Now, after the ILO convention, though there was no international, Chandni will tell you, the ILO convention, by the way, Chandni played a big role. She was the head of UN, UNIFEM, which is now UN Women. She will tell you the role she played. But after that, she said, why we can't do something in Asia? So in Kathmandu in 2000, we had a meeting, many people came, and from that we decided to form HomeNet South Asia. But before that, HomeNet Southeast Asia, and they are here, they are more united. They formed HomeNet Southeast Asia. So clap for HomeNet Southeast Asia. So they formed HomeNet Southeast Asia, but something else also happened. What happened? That after the ILO convention, we said that, okay, no HomeNet International, but they should be, after all, home-based workers is one part of informal sector. There's street vendors, there's agriculture workers, there's domestic workers, so many are there. So why we don't look at the international part? But if we look at the international part, then we need researchers and policymakers with us. So then we formed Women in Informal Employment, Globalizing and Organizing, WIGO. And WIGO was formed. Ela Bhatt and Marty Chen sat together and they thought of it. Then Ela Bhatt, myself, Marty Chen, we, along with some other people, we'll tell you at some time, we formed WIGO. Marty, can you stand up, please? Marty Chen. So we formed WIGO, and WIGO is going strong, as you know. You will hear more later on. But HomeNet South Asia also developed and developed. But HomeNet South Asia and HomeNet Southeast Asia, they felt there is a Street Vendors International, there is Domestic Workers International. Why we can't be an international? There are Formal Workers International. Why we can't be international? So, and I can tell you in my own heart, for many years I was feeling, why HomeNet International went away? We must have a proper HomeNet International. So, HomeNet South Asia passed a resolution that we will try to get a HomeNet International. HomeNet Southeast Asia also passed resolution. Then we went to WIGO. I was chair of WIGO, so I could go to WIGO. And we said, WIGO, please help. So WIGO was very helpful. They did a lot of survey in Africa, different countries. They did a lot of survey in Latin America, different countries. And they found home-based worker organizations. Sometimes the home-based worker organizations also came out. And so, slowly, with the help of WIGO, HomeNet International was formed. And now you do have HomeNet International. So now let me see what else I want to say. Okay. I want to just say at the end, I still want to acknowledge, I know all of you have made a big effort to form HomeNet International. You had working committee, and working committee was meeting so often, and you had so much issue to put everybody together. But I would like, because these are people who we don't hear, because they are very honest, hard workers, understanding, but they are not coming in front. So may I request Firoza Mehrotra and Chris Bonner to stand up, please. Firoza Mehrotra and Chris Bonner, please acknowledge. And of course, our dear Janvi. Yes. So finally, just to say, HomeNet International has come out not because of some great thinker. HomeNet International has come out because our hearts are joined. Of course, our minds are also there. We all have good mind. But until our hearts can join, our minds will not join. So please, in the future, keep your heart and your mind joined together, and we will always be one. So we are one, we must stay one. Thank you all very much.